Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. You like that? 1, 2, 3. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. I will ride with this group. Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
And welcome into Purple Access during what has been a busy week for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins is gone. He's actually now released an official thank you to the Vikings in the Twin Cities before he signs this afternoon. Sam Darnold is in, plenty to get to. Ross Brendel producing. Chip Scoggins along with me, as he is every other Thursday, my buddy from the Star Tribune, my former cohort at the Star Tribune. And Chipper, if this was 12 years ago, we would have been absolutely scrambling this week. This is about the busiest free agency period I remember in a long, long time. Give me your initial thoughts on what you have seen go down this week regarding the Vikings.
Judd, if you and I would have done a highway chase with TJ Hushmanzada, what would we have done with a quarterback?
Oh, well, I said, I was actually asked that on X this week, and I said that one of us would have been parked outside the Cousins' house. Down the cul-de-sac with binoculars. Oh yeah,
mustache.
Yes, you would have to be go Jim Rockford in your car spying on Kirk.
I think my headline is Kwesi Adofo-Mensah dug in his heels and didn't budge. He didn't cave to the fear of the unknown, the fear of not having a quarterback that they can rely on, or that they know an answer there. So I give him credit, although I thought it was going to be probably harder than it was for him. But when you saw what Atlanta offered the package, it probably was, at that point you say, Kirk, we appreciate everything you've done here. We're going a different direction. So I like the fact that he didn't budge. They didn't get dragged into a bidding war. I like that they really focused on defense. Obviously, the Aaron Jones pickup is sneaky good. I think that's going to be important, particularly with the uncertainty you have at quarterback. And so I think, we can. I know people look at the Sam Darnold thing and they're, they think the sky's falling. It's 1 year. It's a 1-year deal. I mean, this is the ultimate bridge deal. So I don't worry too much about that. And so it was time, Judd. It was time for a new path. I'm glad they're going down this path. And
what I like about it, too, is this allows them, like, once the Falcons, to your point, came to Kirk and then Kirk went back, or his brilliant agent, Mike McCarthy, went back to the Vikings and said, here's what's on the table. I don't care how much Kevin O'Connell liked Kirk. Saying no was simple. But I also like the fact that for the most part, now Aaron Jones doesn't really fit the profile, but when you look at what they're doing too, they are firmly setting themselves up for a year from now when they probably have top 3 cap space with with a team that's getting younger. Like you can now see it. I said this about a month ago or so. I said, do the Vikings, what's the plan here? Do they have a plan? Yeah. And it wasn't that I thought they didn't for sure. I just didn't know. And now you're really starting to see the plan. And that involves, it goes back to last March. Thielen's gone. Kendricks is gone. Now Kirk is gone. Harrison Smith, I think, is probably going to be restructured, or he might retire. I don't know. But the point is, you are starting to see a clear path here to rebuild. And it doesn't have to be, they're not blowing up the team, but they're definitely replenishing, rebuilding, and getting more depth. I like this tact of roster building.
Well, not only are they getting younger, they're getting less expensive. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think I saw today that they're leading the league this year in dead money, but next year they may have the most cap space. So it's the plan now is starting to come before our eyes. Like we all wondered, where's this going? What are they doing? What do they think about Kirk? Now we know, right? They're ready to turn. This is the rebuild part. And when I say rebuild, everybody, we have this thing in sports, rebuild. Oh, they're going to win 3 games. I don't know how many they're going to win or lose, but rebuild is rebuild the roster with younger, you hope better upside talent than what they've had. Not guys that are 29 to 33 and their best days are behind them. So, this makes sense. And you don't want to punt on any season, but you look at that 2025 and how much cap space they're going to have. And presumably that's when you're going to turn it over to a new quarterback and surround him with better infrastructure in terms of players, and you're going to have more money to spend on your, for your depth, for your lines, all those things. It's the vision's starting to make sense.
What's your thought about, because I'm with you completely. Darnold is here to either be a placeholder, a backup. You've got to sign someone. I totally get that.
Yeah.
What's your opinion, though? Do you think they draft one this year? Do you think they now have to? Do you think they go up? Do you think they go back and grab Penix?
I think they have to, right, Judd. I think they have to, because I haven't looked at it, who's coming out next year in terms of quarterbacks, but the people, that you trust say it's not going to be as good. I just have to look and see what the list is going to be. But I don't know. Now, you may pick 11th or better next year based on this year, but traditionally they haven't been, in this spot where you're in position to go get a guy. Now, if you're picking them, later on, it's just a lot more difficult. And so I think they will. I don't think they can sit at 11. If J.J. McCarthy, let's say J.J. McCarthy is their guy, which everybody's sort of projecting. I don't think you're going to be able to sit at 11, right? There's just too many teams that need quarterbacks to just assume he's going to be there when you pick. So I think they'll probably have to move up. I saw a couple mock drafts yesterday that had him going up to 5 with the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the safest spot because Arizona's 4, right? They're not going to take a quarterback. Chargers obviously aren't.
What do the Patriots do is the question at 3.
I think they have to, though, don't they, Judd? I mean, they just signed a bridge quarterback, right?
Yes. But I guess
I don't know.
I guess my question is this: does a team that's desperate for a quarterback make a trade with the Patriots? The Patriots need a ton. Like, they're not going to be good. So do they trade out of the 3 and then you get jumped? But I will say this: if you can get the 5th pick, I think you're going to get a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I
guess
guess
the Cardinals are going to stand pat.
Sure. Yeah. I don't. I guess you never know, but I don't think the Cardinals are going to be looking for a quarterback. But I guess when you talk about the Patriots, it's like, how much do they love? I think Daniels is going 2nd, right? I just think Washington's going to take him. So I guess it'd come down to how much do they love Drake May or J.J. McCarthy if they thought he was better. I mean, how much in love are they with that guy? And they felt like, you know what? We need a lot, but we're not going to pass on a guy that we think is going to be our franchise quarterback. So without knowing that, it's hard to know. But I think you at least are going to have to get the 5. So I wrote this column today is like, there's two decisions or 2 things that each O'Connell and Kwesi have to do. O'Connell has to pick the guy. He has to figure out which quarterback fits his system, fits what he wants, all that. And then it's Kwesi's job to figure out where do we have to go to get him? Like, how much do we have to move up?
Bingo.
That type of thing. So both guys are really on the spot right here. And this is, particularly for O'Connell, this is not the sole reason you hired him, obviously, but this is a pretty substantial part of why you did it, that because he played the position, knows the position, he studied it, that he was going to be able to solve this long-standing question of franchise quarterback for him.
Yeah, and I totally buy he likes Kirk a lot, and he did a good job with Kirk.
Sure,
like Kirk is leaving. Kirk is departing what was really a coach that bent over backwards and made him better. Like there's some risk on Kirk's part here too, and I know he's getting paid, but there is some risk here. But you just hit what I think has been true since the day O'Connell walked in the door, which is this is what he was largely hired to do. Like, Spielman's gone, and to a certain degree, because he also turned cantankerous as hell, Zimmer's gone because they couldn't agree or couldn't find a quarterback. And so there's a lot of fearful fans now who are saying, well, the Vikings are going to screw it up again. They always do. But that's not the point. The point is this regime is here to try and get that right because previous regimes couldn't get it right.
Well, and I don't think, yes, Kwesi's going to have input, right? But to me, this is O'Connell's pick. This is his, because he knows what he's looking for, who fits the system, all those things. How a player is going to transfer from a transition from a college system to the NFL. He knows those things. He's the expert, not Kwesi, right? And so obviously he'll get input from scouts and all those things. But this is going to be, he's picking the quarterback that he wants. And so I feel better about that. I mean, we all we all are armchair quarterbacks. We think we know who's going to be good in the NFL quarterback wise and who's, going to be a bust. And it's so complicated. It's, we see guys whiff all the time that we thought were going to be good. So this is why you hired him and trusted him with the job to make this decision. And so this is a big, 6 weeks from the draft, 5 weeks from draft? This is a big month and a half for O'Connell. Which of these guys that's attainable. I mean, Caleb Williams, the Bears are not passing on Caleb Williams.
Right.
I don't think Washington is going to pass on Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is Drake May a possibility? I'm sure they're going to do a ton of homework on him too in case he slides or, something he doesn't go 3 like a lot of people think. So, but this is totally O'Connell's time right now to find the guy he wants.
Yes, Roscoe, go ahead on Darnold.
So I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here. I'm going to be pro Darnold, but then follow it up with a comment that's a little bit negative, and I'll let you guys decide how you want to handle or approach my thoughts here. Darnold, it's not worth spending a ton of time on because in the grand scheme of the Minnesota Vikings, he will just be a fleeting point in history. It's going to be no more than a year, more than likely. However, this will be the best situation that he's probably ever been in where he has a chance to start. I know the Niners technically claimed he could have started for them if Brock Purdy wasn't ready, and that's why he was brought in. But you look at the pieces that are going to be around him in Minnesota, he should be able to, you would think, unless whoever they draft, the Vikings realize right away, oh, this guy's so much better, he can play right away. You'd like to think that Darnold can push that a little bit, though. Let the new rookie get a little bit of time before he plays. But check out these Darnold numbers, then I'm going to compare them to somebody else. And this is where it starts to get a little bit negative. I think there's a case to be made, not that it really matters this year. You maybe didn't need to spend $10 million on Sam Darnold. You may have already had Sam Darnold on the roster just by a different name in Nick Mullins. Sam Darnold, these are just top-down numbers. Just over 12,000 career passing yards, 63 touchdowns, 58 interceptions. That's basically a 1-to-1 ratio. Nick Mullins, just over 6,000 passing yards, 34 touchdowns, and 31 interceptions. Is Sam Darnold dramatically better than Nick Mullins at this point in both of their careers? That if you're just going to have Darnold start 2, 4, 8 games, whatever it is, that Nick Mullins couldn't have just done that and you could have spent that $10 million somewhere else?
Well, I think with Mullins, we've seen that show before. I don't know you can go through another year of the roller coaster ride that he brings you with I get that, but don't the numbers say that Darnold's going to bring you that same roller coaster ride? Quite possibly. The $10 million, I mean, part of that's probably, who else was in the negotiating with him? Denver, yeah. So, I mean, that might have just been because there's another, you got to have a bridge, right? And they just didn't want to go through another Mullins experience. So I'm not, the bar from the expectations for me are awfully low, right? I'm not expecting, because you're going to have Justin Jefferson and Hawkinson and Addison and what should be a pretty good running game that you're going to think that he's going to play at a high. I'm not expecting that. I think they're just going to, I'm not even know if he's going to start. I mean, right now, I guess he'd be the leading, one you think would start, but my expectations are low. I think it's more a stopgap till they can find the rookie they want.
And I also think that O'Connell is somewhat a collectors of quarterbacks who need to be fixed. And you got to look at Nick and said, I can't fix you. See you later, buddy. And now he's going to try on Darnold. My guess is that Shanahan, I think Kyle and Kevin are buddies. So Shanahan probably said, hey, I worked on this and this and this, because guys talk about that. So that wouldn't surprise me one bit. Hey, Roscoe, let's do this. Let's play a soundbite here, Chipper, that I want you to hear. Adam Schefter, I believe it was on the NFL Live program yesterday, talking about Justin Jefferson and his contract situation. And if I'm not mistaken, breaking some news here. Roscoe, go ahead and play that.
If the money's right, he's going to sign. You're going to tell me...
His money's going to be right anywhere, though, Shefty. Anywhere.
Okay. Well, it wasn't before the season when he turned down in excess of $30 million a year. Okay? He could have a choice about what to do, Dan. And if he doesn't want to sign a deal, then maybe he doesn't. And it becomes an organizational decision. And if you're in the Minnesota Vikings, are you going to pay what it's going to take to make Justin Jefferson the highest paid wide receiver in football.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that right now? Or do you want to say, you know what? As much as we love the player, as great as he is, maybe we're better off starting from scratch here in terms of a quarterback. They're going to have to talk about these things.
Yeah, there's a lot
Where
on the
they're
table.
going to come out.
Right.
I wouldn't want to part ways with Justin Jefferson.
Right.
But you can't just say, okay, we're re-signing him to a deal, we'll call it $35 million a year, and paying him that money when the organization is where it's at.
Right.
Does he want to do that? Do they want to do that? Both sides are going to have to figure this out. It's not a layup that it's getting done.
Now, subsequently, Chipper, Diana Rossini of The Athletic came out with a tweet this morning that said the Vikings have no plans to trade Jefferson, sources tell me, and Vikings Athletic reporter Alec Lewis. And that's what Kwesi made clear in Indianapolis, bent over backwards, to the point of I think his credibility would be jeopardized if he did trade him. but what's your sense of this whole thing? Because it definitely feels like some things are going on. Like, I don't think they're trading him, but I'm not just going to dismiss this as it's made up. You know, Schefter's got sources.
Yeah.
These people have sources. What's your sense?
Well, I would, if I'm Jefferson in his camp, I would want to know what the plan is. Now, I still think if you say we're going to make you the highest non-paid quarterback in league history, that, you know, I'll catch passes from anyone, right? You know,
Hell yeah.
It's good. And they have control for 3 more years if you use the tag, which, you know, obviously you don't want to do that. So,
right.
But I do think if you're him, and they talked about last offseason that he's going to be, you know, not sitting in the room, but they're going to value his input and seek his input on this stuff. Well, if you know, I would think sometime after he learned that Cousins is going to Atlanta, you call him, it's like, okay, now what's the plan here? Like, what are we doing?
Sure.
So I think that's fair game, and I'm sure they did that. But is that going to be something that, you know, they're going to say, well, let's start over, you know, because we have, you know, a bridge quarterback and then probably a rookie quarterback, and why are we paying Jefferson? I don't think they're going to do that. They talk, you know, so much, and it's obvious what he means to that organization on and off the field. I think it may need some clarity. You may need to explain, you know, Connell may need to say, hey, here's what we're thinking. Here's our plan. This is what we're looking at. And we're still going to give you, you know, $30+ million, and we want you here long-term. I think it may delay this contract a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be something that, you know, causes the two sides to go, you know, separate ways.
I found it interesting what Schefter said there, though, was that because I think the news was I don't think we've heard what the offer was before.
Sure.
We just know. And Kwesi came out at the combine and said we were very, very close. And Schefter reported in excess of $30 million, which would exceed the AAV of Tyreek Hill, who is currently, when it comes to that, now there's ways to twist this, and I think get Cooper Kupp above him. But when it comes to average annual value, Tyreek Hill is the highest paid receiver. What Schefter didn't say was that they would top what Nick Bosa is getting from San Francisco, which is the highest non-paid quarterback, which I'm guessing Jefferson wants to be. If it's that simple as, hey, I want the most of any non-QB, you do have a decision to make, but you can make that quickly. If there's other things at work here, and if Jefferson's, I don't know, he could be waiting to see who they draft. I think it's interesting that it feels like they were close and it's hung up now. I'm with you. I expect it to get done, but I think the whole process has become at least worth monitoring.
Yeah, maybe a little more muddy. Well, I think Schefter at the end of that said, what, $35 million? So that's, I've always thought that was sort of going to be
right
34 to 36 average, you know, the AAV on that. So, and I think Kwesi may have said it too at the combine that they were really close. I'd love to like what close means, like, you know. He
said we were very close.
So, which tells you, you know, they're right there, but maybe this, you know, gives them JJ side just a little pause just to see what they're going to do at quarterback, but that's still so much money, Judd. And from the Vikings perspective, you're talking about the cap's going up substantially, and you're going to be sitting next year with the most cap space in the league. To not get this done, what would that signal? You know, talk about a bad look. That'd be a real bad look. So,
and you'd be hitting the reset then completely. Like that's my thing. Right now, you are retooling, But if you now come to me and say, and the problem too is, okay, we could talk about draft picks, and you would. I'm not saying that you wouldn't get a good trade, but Randy Moss, remember, 7th overall pick, which was Troy Williamson, which was a terrible pick, but that still can happen, right? You got a 7th round pick. You got a linebacker. Like you don't ever get what you maybe expect to get either. So I have no interest in this trade.
No, and no at all, because some fans just fall in love with draft picks. Let's do this and get all these draft picks. Well, one, give me the proven commodity, right? 1, and 2, you're not going to hit on every draft pick. I mean, nobody does, and so that would be foolish in my opinion. So I don't see it happening, but I also think there is probably some dialogue going on with Jefferson and his camp, just kind of what the plan is forward here going at quarterback.
What's your thought, Roscoe?
This is, guys, I'm glad that we're finally here, right? We're finally at this apex or climax of what the Vikings are going to do quarterback wise. When you break this down, to me, it's so easy to go back to what Chip said at the very beginning of this edition of Purple Access. They almost assuredly have to leave this draft with said quarterback, and that indirectly, you think, not even indirectly, it'll play right into what Justin Jefferson is doing or thinking. At least at this point, what's the incentive for Justin Jefferson to sign the contract now? I mean, he's probably going to injury. But is he gonna get injured prior to the NFL draft though? I don't think he's going. To.
Now, no. I thought you meant this year.
Yeah. No, I think he'd want. I still think it's gonna get done too. But I think the quarterback part definitely plays a little bit of a role. But to what you guys said, at the end of the day, if somebody's gonna come to him, make him the highest paid player that's not a quarterback. I don't know why he wouldn't do that and what the holdup would be. And furthermore, if the quarterback position really does matter, the deal that Justin Jefferson's going to sign is likely what everybody keeps talking about. And Judd, maybe you have more intel on this. You're talking 3 to 4 years. So if the quarterback thing goes sour and the Vikings draft a quarterback and miss on it, he'll still be hitting free agency again at a point in his career where he can get a lot of money. So I think it's going to get done. And I think we overplay what the quarterback situation plays into it. But I do think at this point, now that we're sitting in mid-March, it doesn't do him any disservice to wait till late April, early May, or sometime in June to sign that contract.
Yeah, I mean, as long as but he's not going to go to camp without it. I mean, having the injuries that he had this year and seeing what can happen, he's not. I can't anticipate he's going to step on the field before he gets that contract.
And Schefter didn't talk about this, but I think part of this probably is not just what he wants on an average annual value basis. It's also guarantees.
Yeah.
That's becoming more and more important, and it should. And that's where Kirk's a genius. It's not just we used to marvel at these contracts and the agents leak them. So it's like, oh my God, he got his client $100 million. Well, it turns out 42 is guaranteed, 35, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing here too, is my guess is it's between him wanting to be the highest paid non-quarterback, but a lot of that guaranteed. And I'm sure the Vikings aren't pleased about that, but again, I'm with Chip on, Hunter just walked, which hurts. You sort of replaced him, not completely. Cousins just walked. Okay. You try to sell your fan base on, hey, Justin Jefferson, we just traded him. Good luck with that. Hey, Chip, the final thing. How many celebratory drinks do you think Brian Flores, if he does drink, has had? I mean, perhaps it's Diet Coke like Royce. The defense to me, yes, Hunter hurts. That hurts. He had a great year. We talked about that. But Grenard, Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, who you covered with the Gophers, this team has clearly taken some big time steps to reward a guy in Flores who, in my opinion, probably milked more from a defense than he had any right to. And it looks like now they're committing cash to try and actually give him more of a product to work with.
And you have to think that these were Flores's guys. These were players that he targeted and said, this is what I want. I mean, Grenard, from all you hear about him, the reports fits exactly with what Flores wants, right? And coming off a good year, and I think the big thing with him is just staying healthy, right?
That's a problem with these guys,
but good against the run.
Yep.
Obviously, explosive pass rusher. versatile. Same thing, Van Ginkel. Cashman had a really nice year with Texas. I mean, I think he had a lot of tackles, and he'll be, he'll slide in there. So I think I'm guessing Flores, now that he's had a year to see what he has, show kind of the type of player that he's looking for that can move around as, little chess pieces in different spots. He's excited by what they're doing, but Judd, they're not done. I mean, they need help in the secondary now. I still think they need either draft or free agency, 1 or 2 corners, right?
Yeah.
I
think they definitely need one.
The thing is hard is like Kwesi's drafted 3 corners in his first 2 drafts.
Yes.
Evans,
Blackman, Booth, Evans.
and Evans. Do you feel like those 3 are guys that you go forward with? Booth,
I like Blackman.
Well,
I think Blackman will turn out.
Isn't that to a degree what's interesting, though, about what we've heard this offseason about cornerbacks that the Vikings were picking around at? They're on other teams. So that might require capital, or would require draft capital to get them. Well, you're probably going to be hesitant to trade for somebody knowing you might need every pick if you're trying to move up. But it's interesting that you would bring that up, Chip, because, I think Blackman's a pretty good player. But when you go back and you start looking at that, okay, well, Chip named 3 if we think one of them's a good player. Now, granted, it's only 3, but that means he's hitting at 33%. Does Kwesi feel more comfortable at this point, maybe trading or signing for a proven commodity than trying to draft one again? Well, if he does, you might be out capital to move up that draft board.
And I think this is Flores' call. Like, here's the thing. Kwesi literally, for the most part, I think is shopping at the grocery store.
Yeah.
But he's got a list, and he didn't make the list. Yeah. Like, I think we're putting too much of this now on him. And look, I mean, he's going to take the fall because he has the title. But let's look at this. It looks like O'Connell is the guy who comes up with the grocery list for the offense, Flores on the defense. And quite frankly, that's the way I want it. When it comes to playing bad guy with players, Kwesi can take that. That can be his job. You be the bad
guy. The contract stuff. You be the bad guy.
Because I don't want the coach to be the bad guy.
Well, it's particularly because of what Flores asked his defenders to do.
Correct.
I mean, you see Metellus playing 9 different positions or whatever it was last year.
12. He played more than there was positions.
Yeah. That's right. So that takes you can't just pick anybody and say do that. So that's where you have to entrust.
Correct.
You have to, what Flores wants and what he's seeing and the type of player that he's looking for. And so, yes, like you're going to lean heavily on him. But, the quarterback situation, that's the thing. Is like when you draft 3 in 2 years, you think you fixed an area. Well, now because of the lack of production, it's almost like you got to readdress those areas.
And you're drafting them high. That's the problem.
That's
like if
we're talking about 2nd round guys here.
So yeah, that's the problem. And yeah, Ross brings up Harrison Smith, who they don't have to cut. They don't have to cut his salary yet. It sounds like he wants to return. And so my guess is if he returns the salary they dictate, he comes back. He sure as heck ain't going to make what he was going to make. He'll have
to take a pay cut, and it's just exactly play another year.
Yeah, and not a shocker at all, boys, but I completely misread that. I thought the way he was talking was that he was going to retire, but the longer we went into the offseason.
End of the season stuff. Favre did that. That's where Favre got the bad rep. Because Favre, at the end of every season, I'm exhausted, I can't play anymore. And then come April, hey, I'm ready to go.
Well, that's it. Like, their bodies are beat up. It's been a long season. They're, physically and mentally just done, drained, Then they get away from it and kind of recharge and I still have something else.
That's what you do. Like it's what they do for a living.
Exactly.
Like what is Harrison like? He's going to go fly his planes a little bit, play with his kid,
play golf.
Yeah, I mean, come on. So
even at a reduced rate, it's incredibly tough to replace that money. I'd play as long as somebody was willing to give me a paycheck.
That's it. 100%. Yeah.
I personally think they should step away at some point in time, but that's a whole different story. All right, boys. Chipper, great stuff. Roscoe, great stuff.
Brother.
We will see you next week on Purple Access.